The Shanghai Technology Research Center hummed with futuristic energy, its glass facade shimmering under the city's neon glow. Inside robotic arms, whirred assembling intricate circuits with precision, while green and blue lights pulsed in sync with the low buzz of machinery. The sharp scent of solder and polished metal filled the air. Senator John Kennedy, a respected figure, known for his sharp intellect and dedication to progress, stepped out of a sleek black sedan and gazed up at the towering facility. The sign above read, Shanghai Tech Innovation Hub, in crisp English and elegant Chinese characters. This was no routine visit. Kennedy had arrived unannounced, driven by a passion to see the clean energy projects that could redefine global sustainability. Workers in white lab coats paused, murmuring excitedly, "The senator's here!" One young technician called out, "Senator Kennedy, welcome!" Kennedy offered his warm, disarming smile, but his mind was focused. The center was a hub of innovation, yet it was falling short of its ambitious goals. He needed to find out why. His aide Li Wei hurried beside him, clutching a tablet. "Senator, solar cell output is up 12%. Li said, swiping through data, "but we're still behind schedule. Something's slowing us down." Kennedy nodded, his keen eyes scanning the bustling halls. "Let's see the labs, Li. I want to know what's really going on." They moved through corridors, alive with activity engineers testing microchips, technicians calibrating panels, screens flashing energy metrics. Everything looked cutting-edge efficient. But near the back, by a cluttered storage area, Kennedy spotted something odd. A small figure sat on the concrete floor, hunched over a pile of discarded wires and circuit boards. It was a girl no older than 12, her dark hair in a messy bun, her hands deftly working on a cracked solar cell. Kennedy stopped. "Hold up, Li," he said, curiosity sparking. He approached his polished shoes, echoing softly. The girl wore worn jeans with patched knees and a baggy t-shirt. Her fingers moved with startling skill, soldering wires with a homemade tool. She glanced up as his shadow fell over her, her dark eyes sharp, unafraid. "What are you doing here?" Kennedy asked, his Louisiana drawl gentle but firm. The girl studied him briefly before returning to her work. "This cell still works," she said in clear English, her accent thick but precise. "Your team throws them out, but 65% of the capacity's fine. It just needs rewiring." Kennedy blinked, surprised by her fluency and technical know-how. "How do you figure that?" he asked, crouching to her level. She held up a cobbled-together device of wires and parts. "I built this to test energy output. It's accurate to 0.2 volts. Your lab wastes good materials." A security guard rushed over, flustered. "Kid, you can't be here!" he shouted in Mandarin, then, in broken English, "Restricted area." Kennedy raised a hand, his authority quiet but firm. "It's okay," he said. "I want to talk to her." The guard hesitated, then stepped back, eyeing the senator warily. Kennedy studied the girl's tools neatly arranged, a tiny soldering iron, a voltmeter, all scavenged. "What's your name?" he asked. "Zara Chen," she said, connecting a wire with steady hands. "How old are you, Zara?" 12. "Where'd you learn this?" Her hands paused, a shadow crossing her face. "I taught myself," she said softly. "If you don't fix things, you go without. I don't like going without." Kennedy's chest tightened. There was pain behind her words, a story he needed to understand. "Your parents gone," she said, her voice flat, eyes fixed on the circuit. Kennedy leaned closer. This girl wasn't just clever, she spoke English like a native and handled tech like a pro. "You taught yourself English?" he asked. "Videos, books." Whatever I could find, Zara said. English, Mandarin, Cantonese, some Japanese, and Python for coding. It helps with calculations. Kennedy's eyes widened. Python at 12. He'd met engineers who couldn't code half as well. Show me what you've got, he said, intrigued. Zara's hands moved like lightning. She stripped a wire, soldered a connection, and adjusted the cell. In minutes, it glowed faintly green. She held up her voltmeter, the reading steady. It'll power a device for 6 hours now, not trash. Kennedy inspected her work. Flawless professional. That's something else, Zara, he said. Where'd you learn to think like this? I had to, she said, her voice, low, eyes distant. Li Wei appeared, tablet in hand. Senator, the clean energy panel's waiting. Kennedy glanced at his watch, realizing he'd lost track of time, captivated by Zara. But he wasn't ready to leave. He'd spent his career championing progress, lifting up the overlooked. This girl was extraordinary. 1 minute, Lee, he said, but Zara was already packing her tools into a worn backpack, moving fast, like she was used to fleeing. Wait, Kennedy called. I want to talk more. Zara's sharp eyes met his, skeptical. Adults say that. Then forget, she said. I don't forget, Kennedy replied, his southern sincerity cutting through. I'm serious, Zara. You've got something special. She slung her backpack over her shoulder. You've got meetings. I've got work. She headed for the exit, then paused. Your lab wastes 40% of its materials. Fix that. She slipped out the back door, gone in an instant. Kennedy stood mind-racing. In minutes, a 12-year-old had shown him a solution his team missed, spoken with clarity beyond her years, and left him with questions. Senator Lee said the panel right, Kennedy said, but his thoughts were on Zara. Her eyes, too wise, too heavy for a child, stayed with him. He'd fought for fairness his whole career. This girl was a rare talent, and he wasn't letting her slip away. Zara watched from behind crates as Kennedy's car left the center. The sleek vehicles gleamed a world apart from her reality. He'd seemed different, genuine, curious, but trust was risky. She waited until the lot was empty, then crept back to the storage area. Discarded circuits, wires, a cracked tablet, trash to the lab. Treasure to her. She stuffed them into her backpack, her flashlight flickering. Her bike ride home was a rattling 10 minutes through dark alleys, her old bicycle creaking. Home was a rusty shipping container behind a deserted warehouse, hidden by weeds. Inside it was her world walls covered with sketches of solar designs and equations, a plywood desk holding her salvaged laptop. She lit a lantern, its glow softening the space, and heated noodles on a camping stove. Connecting to a weak Wi-Fi signal password, Shanghai 123, she opened a Stanford lecture on energy systems. Her notebook brimmed with ideas for better solar cells. A photo of her grandmother, Dr. Mei Chen, sat by her laptop. I miss you, Zara whispered. Mei had taught her everything, math, science, curiosity, until her death 3 years ago. Orphanages weren't safe for different kids, so Zara ran surviving by fixing electronics. As she worked on a circuit, footsteps outside made her freeze. Slow, careful steps. She grabbed a wrench and peered through a small window. There in the lot stood Kennedy, his suit out of place among the weeds. How had he found her? She gripped the wrench, weighing her options, hide or run. Then came 3 soft knocks. Zara, Kennedy called, his voice warm. I brought food. Let's talk. Her heart raced. She could disappear, but his tone, kind, not demanding, made her pause. Slowly she cracked the door. How'd you find me? Kennedy held up bags smelling of dumplings. Vendors at the electronics market talk about a kid who fixes the impossible. I followed the trail. Zara's stomach growled. Why are you here? I meant what I said, Kennedy replied. You're not just smart. You could change things. Let me help. She studied him, then opened the door. He stepped in, eyes wide at her sketch-covered walls. You did this? He asked, awed. Just ideas, Zara mumbled. He pointed to a solar design. This could boost efficiency 20%. My team's been stuck on this. Online papers, Zara said. The math works. Kennedy sat on a crate. I fight for progress, Zara. You're doing that here alone. Come to the center tomorrow. Show my team what you can do. I don't need handouts, she snapped. Not a handout, he said. A chance to shine. He showed her a solar cell schematic. We're stuck at 20% efficiency. Can you fix it? Zara scanned it, her mind racing. Your layering's off. Adjust the grid here. You'll hit 25%. She sketched on cardboard, her pencil swift. Kennedy stared. Build it in 2 days. If you get me materials, she said. He extended his hand. Deal. She shook it wary, but hopeful. 2 days. Don't waste my time. As he left, Zara locked the door, her mind buzzing. For the first time, she felt seen. But outside, a reporter lurked, camera rolling, ready to thrust her into the spotlight. The Shanghai Technology Research Center glowed under the early morning sun, its glass walls reflecting the city's restless energy. Inside, the air crackled with the hum of high-tech equipment, computers whirring, screens flashing with data, and the faint smell of ozone drifting from testing labs. Engineers in crisp white coats moved with purpose, their voices a low murmur of technical jargon. Senator John Kennedy strode through the main hall, his presence commanding yet warm, his southern drawl cutting through the din as he greeted a passing technician. He'd come back to the center with a mission not just to oversee the clean energy projects, but to find out more about Zara Chen, the 12-year-old girl who'd stunned him yesterday with her brilliance in a cluttered storage room. The memory of her sharp eyes and deft hands rewiring a discarded solar cell with scavenged tools lingered in his mind. She wasn't just a prodigy. She was a mystery, one he was determined to unravel. Workers whispered as he passed Senator Kennedy's here again. A young engineer waved, calling out, "Back so soon." Senator Kennedy flashed his trademark smile, but his focus was razor-sharp. Zara had promised to show up today to prove her ideas to his team. If she was half as capable as he suspected, she could change everything. Inside the prototyping lab, Kennedy's aide Li Wei hurried to his side, tablet in hand. "Senator, the team's ready to test the new solar cell design," Li said, scrolling through specs. "But I've got to warn you, some engineers are skeptical about a kid's input. They're saying it's a waste of time." Kennedy's eyes narrowed slightly, but his voice stayed steady. "Let's see what Zara can do before we judge Li. Talent doesn't care about age." The lab was a marvel of modern science, sleek workstations lined with monitors, robotic arms assembling circuits, and a massive testing chamber behind reinforced glass. Engineers bustled about calibrating equipment and debating efficiency metrics. But Kennedy's attention was drawn to the lab's entrance, where a small figure stood clutching a worn backpack. Zara Chen, in the same patched jeans and oversized t-shirt, looked out of place among the high-tech chaos. Her dark eyes scanned the room wary, but focused like a chess player sizing up a board. Kennedy approached, his smile warm but professional. "You made it, Zara," he said, gesturing to the lab. "Ready to show us what you've got?" She nodded, her expression guarded, and followed him to a workstation where a pile of materials, semiconductors, wiring, testing gear waited as per her instructions. The engineers nearby exchanged glances, some curious, others openly doubtful. That's the kid, one muttered, a PhD named Dr. Zhang, his arms crossed. This better not be a publicity stunt. Kennedy shot him a look, his authority subtle but firm. Give her a chance, Zhang. You might learn something. Zara ignored the whispers, her hands already moving sorting components with the precision of a surgeon. She set to work assembling a solar cell prototype, based on the sketch she'd scribbled on cardboard the day before. Her fingers flew, soldering, measuring, adjusting her focus, unshakable, despite the eyes on her. "What's your plan here?" Kennedy asked, leaning in, genuinely curious. Zara didn't look up, her hands steady as she connected a wire. "Your design's losing sunlight at the semiconductor layer," she said, her voice clear despite her thick accent. "I'm tweaking the grid alignment and thinning the coating. It'll boost efficiency to 28%, maybe 30%. Dr. Zhang snorted from across the room. "That's theoretical at best. We've tried those adjustments. They don't scale." Zara's eyes flicked to him, sharp and unflinching. "You tried the wrong ratios. The math checks out if you account for photon scattering." The room went quiet, the engineers exchanging stunned looks. Kennedy suppressed a smile. This girl wasn't just smart, she was fearless. In under 2 hours, Zara finished her prototype, a sleek square no bigger than a dinner plate. She handed it to a technician who placed it in the testing chamber. The room's screens lit up with data voltage current efficiency. Starting the simulation, the technician called. Sunlight-mimicking lamps flared, and numbers began streaming across the monitors. Kennedy watched Zara, who stood still, her face unreadable, but her eyes locked on the screens. "Efficiency at 25%, the technician announced. Murmurs rippled through the lab. "Wait! 27%. 28.4%. The room erupted in gasps. Dr. Zhang pushed forward, staring at the data. "That's impossible," he muttered, but the numbers didn't lie. Zara's prototype outperformed their best designs by a wide margin. "Run it again," Kennedy said, his voice calm, but his eyes bright with excitement. The test repeated then again, each time confirming the same result. 28.6% efficiency, a breakthrough that could power millions of homes more effectively. Dr. Zhang approached Zara, his skepticism replaced by grudging respect. "How did you know about the scattering issue?" he asked. Zara shrugged, packing her tools. "I read your team's research papers online. The data was there, you just didn't connect it." Kennedy chuckled, clapping a hand on her shoulder. "You've got a gift, Zara. This could change the energy game." She looked up at him, her expression softening slightly. "It's just a start," she said. But as the lab buzzed with excitement, Kennedy noticed something else in her eyes, a flicker of worry, like she was hiding something. "What's on your mind?" he asked quietly, away from the others. Zara hesitated, then shook her head. "Nothing. Just not used to people listening." Before Kennedy could press further, Li Wei rushed over, his face pale. "Senator, we've got a problem." A reporter caught wind of Zara's work. "It's already online. Mystery Girl stuns Shanghai Tech Center." The story's going viral. Kennedy's jaw tightened. He'd wanted to protect Zara, give her a chance to shine without the world's scrutiny. "Keep the press out," he told Li. "She's not a spectacle." But Zara's reaction surprised him. Her hands trembled as she zipped her backpack, her eyes darting to the exit. "I need to go," she said, her voice tight. "Zara, wait!" Kennedy called, but she was already moving, slipping through the lab's side door like a shadow. He started after her, but Li grabbed his arm. "Senator, you've got a meeting with the Chinese trade delegation in 20 minutes. Kennedy cursed under his breath. He couldn't let Zara disappear, not when she'd just proven she could revolutionize their work. That evening, Kennedy sat in his hotel suite, the city's lights sprawling below. The viral story was everywhere. News sites, social media, even international outlets. Headlines screamed 12-year-old genius shocks. American senator and child prodigy solves energy crisis. He scrolled through comments, some praising Zara, others speculating wildly about her origins. His phone buzzed with a call from a U.S. diplomat. "Senator, the Chinese government's asking questions about this girl. They're saying she's a citizen and want her in a state program for gifted kids." Kennedy's gut twisted. He'd seen what special programs could mean: control, not opportunity. "She's not a pawn," he said firmly. "I'll handle it." Hanging up, he made a call to a local contact, a trusted fixer in Shanghai's tech scene. "Find Zara Chen," he said. "She's living rough, probably near the center. I need to know she's safe." By midnight, the fixer had tracked her down to an abandoned lot behind a warehouse. Kennedy arrived in the dark, the air thick with the smell of rust and damp earth. A rusty shipping container sat hidden among weeds, its door barely visible. He knocked softly, holding a bag of takeout from a nearby noodle shop. "Zara, it's Senator Kennedy," he called. "I'm not here to cause trouble." Silence stretched, then the door creaked open. Zara stood there, wrench in hand, her eyes wary but curious. "How'd you find me?" she asked. Kennedy held up the food, his smile gentle. "People talk about a kid who fixes things better than anyone. Wasn't hard to follow the trail." She hesitated, then stepped aside, letting him in. The container was a marvel of ingenuity. Walls were plastered with sketches, solar designs, equations, circuit diagrams. A plywood desk held a flickering laptop cobbled from scraps. A lantern cast a warm glow, softening the stark space. "You built all this?" Kennedy asked, his voice full of admiration. Zara shrugged, sitting on a crate. "It's home." He set the food down, studying her. "You ran today." "Why?" Her fingers tightened around the wrench. "People like me don't get to stay invisible once the world knows. They'll want to control me." Kennedy leaned forward, his gaze steady. "I'm not here to control you, Zara. I'm here to help you do what you're meant to do." She looked away, her voice barely a whisper. "You don't know what I am." "Then, tell me," Kennedy said, his tone earnest. "I've spent my life fighting for people who deserve a chance. Whatever you're hiding, I'm listening." Zara's eyes met his, searching for trust. Finally, she spoke her words, halting. "My grandmother was a scientist, Dr. Mei Chen. She did something to me before I was born, a project called Star Seed. It made me different." Kennedy's heart skipped. "Different? How? My brain," she said, tapping her temple. "It works faster. I can learn anything, languages, math, coding, in days. But it's not just that. I see patterns, solve problems others can't. She said it was a gift, but it feels like a secret I have to keep." Kennedy sat back, processing her words. Genetic enhancement. It sounded like science fiction, but Zara's abilities were real. "Why keep it secret?" he asked. "Because people don't trust what they don't understand," she said. "My grandmother warned me, governments, companies, they'd want to use me, study me. I ran after she died to stay free." He nodded, his mind racing. This wasn't just about talent, it was about a child carrying a burden no one should face alone. "Zara, you don't have to hide anymore. I can protect you, get you the resources to do what you love." She shook her head. "You can't protect me from everyone. The news is out. They'll come for me." Kennedy's phone buzzed a message from Chinese officials demanding a meeting about Zara. U.S. Embassy involved too. He frowned, turning back to her. You're right. The world's noticed. But I've got influence, Zara. I can keep you safe, give you a place to work not as a tool, but as a partner. She studied him, her eyes sharp. Why do you care? Because I've spent my life fighting for what's right, he said. You're not just a kid with a gift, you could change the world. I want to help you do it your way. Zara hesitated, then pulled out her laptop, opening a file filled with equations and designs. This is what I've been working on, she said. A solar grid that could power entire cities without emissions. But it needs funding, equipment, a team. Kennedy scanned the screen, his eyes widening. The math was complex, but the potential was staggering. This is incredible, he said. Come back to the center. We'll build it together. What about the people who'll want to control me? She asked. I'll deal with them, he said, his voice firm. But you need to trust me. For a moment, silence hung between them. Then Zara nodded, a small spark of hope in her eyes. Okay, but if this goes wrong, I'm gone. Fair enough, Kennedy said, standing. Let's get to work. As they left the container, neither noticed the figure across the lot. A diplomat's aide watching from a car, typing notes into a phone. The world was closing in on Zara Chen, and Kennedy knew he'd need every ounce of his political savvy to protect her. But as he glanced at the girl beside him, her backpack slung over her shoulder, he felt a surge of determination. She wasn't just a prodigy, she was a person, and he'd fight to give her the future she deserved. The Shanghai Technology Research Center shimmered under the midday sun, its sleek glass towers reflecting the vibrant pulse of the city. Inside, the air thrummed with the quiet intensity of innovation, computers humming, robotic arms calibrating solar arrays, and the sharp tang of molten metal lingering from the prototyping labs. Engineers darted between workstations, their voices a low buzz of technical debates and urgent updates. Senator John Kennedy moved through the central atrium with purpose, his warm southern drawl cutting through the noise as he nodded to a passing researcher. Keep up the good work, he called, earning a quick smile. He'd returned to the center not just to oversee its clean energy breakthroughs, but to champion Zara Chen, the 12-year-old prodigy whose brilliance had upended his expectations. Her solar cell prototype, built in a mere 2 hours, had outperformed designs from PhDs, and her revelation about her genetically enhanced mind had only deepened Kennedy's resolve to protect her. The world was watching now. News of the Shanghai genius girl had gone viral, and whispers of her abilities had reached powerful ears. Kennedy's mission was clear: ensure Zara's talent served humanity, not the agendas of those circling her like hawks. His aide Li Wei matched his stride tablet, glowing with updates. Senator, the International Oversight Committee's pressing for a meeting about Zara Li, said, his voice tense. They're saying her work could be a global asset. China and the U.S. both want oversight. Kennedy's jaw tightened, his eyes scanning the bustling lab. She's not an asset, Li. She's a kid with a mind like no other. Let's make sure she gets to use it her way. The lab was a hive of activity screens, displayed real-time energy outputs. Technicians tested new battery designs, and a massive testing chamber glowed behind reinforced glass. Zara stood at a central workstation, her small frame dwarfed by the high-tech chaos. Her patched jeans and oversized t-shirt looked out of place, but her hands moved with surgical precision, assembling a new solar grid component. Engineers hovered nearby, some scribbling notes, others whispering doubts. She's just a kid, one muttered, a senior researcher named Dr. Lin. How's she supposed to lead a project this big? Kennedy shot him a look, his authority quiet but firm. Watch her work, Lin. She's already outdone your team. Zara glanced up as Kennedy approached, her dark eyes sharp but guarded. Senator, she said, her accent thick yet clear, I've got the grid prototype ready. It'll boost citywide efficiency by 35%. Kennedy raised an eyebrow, impressed. That's a bold claim. Ready to prove it. She nodded, her expression steady, and gestured to the testing chamber. Give me 10 minutes to set it up. The engineers exchanged skeptical glances, but Kennedy's presence silenced their murmurs. He'd staked his reputation on Zara, using his political clout to secure her a lab space and resources. Her revelation about Project Star Seed, her grandmother's genetic experiment that gave her a superhuman intellect, had only fueled his determination. She wasn't just a genius. She was a child carrying a secret that could reshape the world, and he'd be damned if governments or corporations turned her into a tool. As Zara worked, Kennedy pulled her aside, his voice low. You're doing incredible things, Zara, but the world's closing in. Governments want you in their programs. I need to know what you want. Her hands paused, a flicker of fear crossing her face. I don't want to be locked away, studied like a lab rat, she said. My grandmother warned me they'll want to control me, use my brain for their agendas. Kennedy nodded, his expression serious. I won't let that happen. But we need a plan to keep you free, and your work independent. Zara's eyes searched his, weighing his sincerity. Then she spoke, her voice steady but urgent. I've been thinking, what if we create something bigger, an organization international, no single country in charge? It'd work on global problems, energy, disease, climate. But the solutions belong to everyone, not governments. Kennedy leaned back, processing her words. It was a bold vision, one that aligned with his own belief in fairness and collaboration. A global foundation, he mused. Run by you. Zara shook her head. Not just me. A team, the best minds working together. I'd lead the projects, but the results would be open source for humanity. He studied her, seeing not just a prodigy, but a leader emerging. That's a big idea, Zara, but it'll take serious backing to keep the wolves at bay. She met his gaze, unflinching. That's where you come in, Senator. You've got the influence, I've got the ideas. Before he could respond, Dr. Lin approached, holding a tablet with test results. The prototype's ready, he said, his tone grudgingly respectful. If this works, it's a game changer. Zara led the way to the testing chamber, where her solar grid, a sleek array of interconnected cells, sat under bright lamps. The room's screens flickered to life, displaying metrics. Starting the test, a technician called. Light flooded the chamber and data streamed in voltage efficiency power output. 28%. 32%. 35.2%, the technician shouted. The lab erupted in gasps. Dr. Lin stared at the screens, stunned. That's higher than any model predicted, he muttered. Kennedy clapped Zara's shoulder, his smile wide. You did it, kid. She allowed a small nod, but her eyes were distant already, calculating the next step. As the engineers crowded around analyzing the data, Kennedy noticed Zara's hands trembling slightly. What's wrong? He asked quietly. She hesitated, then pulled him to a corner. It's not just the tech, she said, her voice low. My brain, it's changing. The enhancements my grandmother gave me, they're getting stronger. I'm solving problems faster, seeing patterns I can't explain. But it's hard to feel things like I used to. I'm scared I'll lose what makes me human. Kennedy's chest tightened. This wasn't just about her brilliance, it was about her soul. You're still Zara, he said firmly. We'll figure this out together. She looked at him, her eyes softening. You really mean that, don't you? He nodded. I've spent my career fighting for people's right to be free. You're no exception. That afternoon, Kennedy called a meeting with the center's directors and international liaisons. The room was tense, with Chinese and American representatives eyeing each other warily. Zara's work could change the world, Kennedy began, his voice steady. But she's not a resource to be claimed. She's proposing a global innovation foundation, neutral, transparent, for all humanity. I'm backing her. The Chinese delegate, Minister Gao, frowned. She's a Chinese citizen. Her talents belong to our nation. The American liaison, Ms. Carter, countered, she'd thrive in our research facilities with freedom to innovate. Kennedy raised a hand, silencing them. You're both missing the point. Zara's ideas don't belong to any country, they're for everyone. Fight over her and you'll lose her. Work with her and we all win. Zara stepped forward, her small frame commanding the room. I've designed a framework, she said, projecting a hologram of her plan, a network of labs, shared data, global collaboration. Clean energy, medical breakthroughs, climate solutions. No borders, no ownership. The only condition is equal access. The delegates murmured, some skeptical, others intrigued. Gao leaned forward. And who controls this foundation? Zara's eyes flashed. No one controls it. I lead the projects, but the knowledge is free. Carter raised an eyebrow. A 12-year-old running a global organization, Zara didn't flinch. I just built a solar grid you couldn't. Age doesn't matter, results do. Kennedy watched pride swelling. She was holding her own against seasoned diplomats. But as the meeting ended, Lee rushed in, his face pale. Senator, the press is outside, dozens of them. And we've got calls from Beijing and Washington. They're demanding Zara's custody. Kennedy's jaw clenched. He'd known this was coming, but not this fast. Keep them out, he told Lee. Zara's not a bargaining chip. He turned to her, her face pale but resolute. What do you need from me? He asked. She took a deep breath. Time and your voice. They'll listen to you. That evening, Kennedy stood on the center's steps facing a sea of cameras. Zara Chen is a once-in-a-generation talent, he said, his voice carrying the weight of his conviction. She's offering the world a chance to solve its biggest problems together. I'm asking you to support her vision, not fight over her like a prize. The crowd buzzed, questions flying, but Kennedy held firm. Back inside, he found Zara at her workstation, sketching a new design. You heard that, he asked. She nodded, a faint smile breaking through. You meant it, about helping me. He sat beside her, his tone warm but serious. I've fought for fairness my whole life. You're not just a kid, you're a chance to do right by the world. Zara hesitated, then opened her laptop, revealing a file labeled Star Seed Notes. There's more you need to know, she said. My grandmother's experiment, it's not done. My mind's still evolving. By 16, I might be too different. I'm scared I'll stop feeling, stop caring. Kennedy listened, his heart heavy. Then we'll make sure this foundation keeps you grounded, he said. You'll have a team, people who care about you, not just your brain. She looked at him, hope flickering. And if they try to take me, he smiled, his eyes fierce. They'll have to go through me first. As they worked late into the night, planning the foundation's structure, neither noticed the encrypted message arriving on Zara's laptop. We know about Starseed. Meet us at the old library tomorrow, or the world learns your secret. Zara's breath caught, her mind racing. Who knew about her grandmother's work? And what did they want? Kennedy caught her expression. Something wrong? She deleted the message, forcing a smile. Just tired, she lied. But as she stared at the screen, fear crept in. The world was closing in, and even with Kennedy's support, she wasn't sure she could outrun it. The Global Innovation Foundation's headquarters gleamed in Singapore's morning light, a 40-story tower of glass and steel rising like a beacon of hope. Inside, laboratories hummed with cutting-edge experiments. Quantum computers, word fusion reactors glowed faintly, and the air carried the crisp scent of sterilized equipment. Scientists from across the globe moved with purpose, their voices a blend of languages and ideas. Senator John Kennedy walked through the bustling atrium, his warm southern drawl greeting researchers as he passed. "Y'all are changing the world," he said, earning smiles. He was here to see Zara Chen, now 19, the once hidden prodigy whose vision had birthed this hub of human progress. Her work had eliminated energy poverty, cured diseases, and laid the groundwork for Mars colonies, all while navigating the weight of her genetically enhanced intellect. Kennedy, her steadfast ally, had used his influence to shield her from those who sought to control her, ensuring her dream of a neutral global foundation thrived. Today, he wanted to check in not just on her projects, but on her. His aide Li Wei hurried alongside Tablet, glowing with updates. Senator Zara's team just deployed clean water systems to 3 million people, Li said. But she's been pushing hard. Some worry she's burning out. Kennedy's brow furrowed. "Let's see her, Li. She's carried a lot for someone so young." In the central lab, Zara stood at a holographic interface, her fingers dancing across data streams. Her dark hair was neatly tied back, but her eyes held a depth that seemed almost otherworldly. Researchers buzzed around her discussing fusion outputs and medical trials. "Senator," she said, spotting him, her voice calm but warm. "Didn't expect you today." Kennedy smiled, his presence grounding. "Couldn't stay away, Zara. Your work's making waves." She led him to a quiet conference room, its windows framing Singapore's harbor. "We've got fusion reactors powering half of Asia now," she said, projecting a hologram of global energy grids. "And the cancer cures in final trials." Kennedy nodded, pride evident. "You've done what entire nations couldn't. But how are you holding up?" Zara hesitated, her gaze softening. "It's complicated. My enhanced periods let me solve problems in hours that'd take others years. But when I cycle back to human levels, I feel everything: joy, doubt, even fear. It's overwhelming." Kennedy leaned forward, his voice gentle. "You're still you, Zara. That's what matters." She smiled faintly, then shared her latest challenge. "During my last enhanced period, I designed a system to reverse desertification. It'll restore 10 million acres. But I also realized my mind's outpacing what I can feel. Sometimes I solve things without knowing why they matter." Kennedy's chest tightened. He'd watched her grow from a scared girl in a shipping container to a global leader, but her struggle to stay human was real. "Your grandmother's work gave you a gift," he said. "But it's your heart that makes it mean something." Zara nodded, touching a photo of Dr. Mei Chen on her desk. "She left me a choice: stay, enhanced, or go back. I've been cycling to keep both, but I'm wondering if I should choose." Before Kennedy could respond, a scientist burst in. "Zara, there's an emergency. A viral outbreak in Africa. Our cure's ready, but logistics are failing." Zara's eyes sharpened, her mind shifting gears. "Deploy the drones," she said, already moving. "Coordinate with local clinics. I'll adjust the delivery plan." She glanced at Kennedy, a spark of gratitude in her eyes. "Stick around," he nodded, watching her command the room with a general's precision, her enhanced intellect processing solutions at inhuman speed. Yet, he saw the strain. The girl who once fixed circuits in a dumpster was now carrying humanity's hopes. Later, in a quiet moment, Zara sat with Kennedy sipping coffee. "I've been thinking about my choice," she said. "Cycling lets me solve big problems and stay human. But what if I could teach others to do what I do? Share the knowledge, not the burden. Kennedy's eyes lit up. That's the legacy, Zara. Not just fixing things, but showing the world how to fix itself. She smiled a real human smile. You've been with me since that storage room. Why? He chuckled, his voice warm. Because you're proof one person can change everything if they've got the heart for it. And you do. Zara looked out at the city where children played in parks powered by her reactors, breathing air cleaned by her systems. I've given humanity tools, energy cures, hope. But in my human periods, I remember why. Love, laughter, even pain. That's what I'm saving. Kennedy nodded, pride swelling. Your grandmother would be proud. You're not just brilliant, you're wise. She touched the photo again. She gave me the choice to be both. I'm choosing to stay that way for now. The world had voted years ago urging Zara to remain human, but she'd forged her own path, cycling between superhuman intellect and human heart. Her foundation had transformed lives, proving that intelligence and compassion could coexist. As Kennedy left, he saw Zara laughing with her team, a glimpse of the girl she'd been. The lesson was clear. True, progress comes from balancing brilliance with humanity, choosing not once, but every day who you want to be. Zara's story taught that one person supported by allies like Kennedy could change the world by caring as much as they create. And that, above all, was worth fighting for.